Back in October, I was laying in bed with my girlfriend and I was browsing Facebook, when suddenly, I got one of those friend suggestions for my cousin. I thought it was really unusual to get this because he had died 10 years ago in a car accident. I remember sitting on the porch of my summer house I visited, owned by my father's family. And I remember my family discussing how he passed away in a horrific car crash. It wasn't strange for him to get into a car accident because since the age of 16, he had been stealing his father's motorcycle and doing crazy stuff for ages. However, I remember this time specifically he died, in a car crash. Fast forward again to the Facebook. I clicked on it and checked it out. I was expecting to see the RIP or memorial messages for the Facebook, but there wasn't anything there. I kept scrolling down and there were recent pictures of him and status updates to a week before the current date I was checking it out. He was alive and well and partying. His friends and other family were wishing him well for a good time they had at a party. I looked over to my girlfriend and told her, "Oh, this is eerie. My cousin, who I know is dead, has a Facebook and apparently he's still alive." She knew about this cousin as well because I told her the story every time we visited the beach house. She said the normal kind of responses like, "Oh, that's odd," and "that's eerie," and other similar things. I babbled about it for a bit, saying, "Well, probably just my terrible memory. Maybe he got into a car accident and ended up fine, but I could have sworn that he was dead and had been for nearly a decade now." I had never seen suggestions for him on my Facebook ever. It was like someone created one out of nowhere for him. My girlfriend and I chatted a bit about it and thought little of it, except how weird our memories are as humans, and that it was weird Facebook never showed me his profile before. We went to sleep. I woke up the next day and went to work. During my break, I was scrolling around Facebook and checking out his profile again, just because I thought it was so weird that he was still alive. I considered adding him during this moment, but when I went to his page, I read a new post. "I can't believe he's gone. Love you," my cousin's name, "more than anything." Okay, now I'm confused. Is he dead or not? Maybe this is a memorial page or something and I didn't get the date right. Nope. He was alive and well until the day after I discovered his Facebook page, or the same night rather, the events happening after I went to sleep, and went into detail about how he was dead from a car crash. This happened over the summer. My friends and I were at a local outdoor concert. We were all sitting at a table just enjoying the crowd before the band started playing. We got some food and beers and were just talking about mundane stuff like we always do. From my perspective, here is what happened next. I'm just sitting there talking, kind of going back and forth between a few of us. Then I stopped, and my other two friends just stared at me kind of funny. They were waiting for me to say something. I said, "What?" As in, "What are you staring at me like that for?" Then one of them said, "You just told us in a minute I'm going to tell you something that's going to happen in the future. And then you just stopped, so we were waiting to hear what you had to say." I never said that. I will swear to my dying day that I never uttered those words. I then told them, I didn't say that. They both insisted that I did. A third person there also agreed. At first I thought they were just joking with me, but they all said that I said those words, and they just stopped to hear what I had to say. First of all, we were not talking about anything weird or paranormal, just stuff about our friends or people we know, whatever. I would never say in the middle of a regular conversation that I'm going to tell somebody what's going to happen in the future. It just makes no sense at all. I'm telling you I didn't say it. Or maybe I did. But those 10 seconds are not in my memory banks. And why such a bizarre statement? To me, time didn't stop. I was just talking normally and then they started staring at me. It's like from my point of view, those 10 seconds didn't even happen. I thought maybe some entity possessed me and spoke through me, which is why I have no memory of it. The thing that bothers me the most is that I have no idea what I would have said next. This wasn't like I just read some weird story about a psychic predicting something or anything even close to that. If maybe I heard someone say something about some big event they thought was going to happen, or if I read it somewhere, maybe I could say that I actually did say those words and just forgot what I was going to say, but none of that applies to me, and I still have no idea. On Friday afternoon, I drove the 3 hours to visit my parents on a spur-of-the-moment trip. I wore my one pair of black jeans and a tee I picked up from a farmer's market with a whale painted on the front. This morning I showered at their place, ready to come back for work today, and the clothes I took off had disappeared. I'm sure I'd left them over the chair in the bathroom. I figured my mom probably tidied them away at first, but we couldn't find them. After a while, with being short on time and me just covered in towels, I had to leave and put on a pair of my dad's track pants and one of his garage tees and came back home. My black jeans and whale tee are hanging over the chair here at my house. This happened in May of 2013 when I was a junior in high school. For context relating to this story, I'm from California. While I don't remember most of the details from that day due to it being so long ago, the only photo I took using my iPhone on the same date as this random drawing appearing is one of my dad and I getting McFlurries. I was probably looking at the photo I just took of my McFlurry when I saw something peculiar. Alongside my other pictures was a snapshot of a sketchbook. It was one of the pages in it and displayed a vibrant, colorful picture in a crude art style. While unclear of what it was supposed to depict aside from some trees and plants, it was titled Water Feature, Oak Park, Michigan, and dated 5/5/13, with the signature of what I think is JVBL. I had never been to Michigan and certainly wasn't drawing in my free time. I also don't recognize anything in the background. From the positioning, there was definitely a deliberate photo of this sketch. I googled everything written in the picture and even tried to reverse image search, but to no avail. Since that day, I never understood how this weird drawing appeared in my camera roll. And for anyone who is about to say that this was some iCloud or AirDrop mix-up, this happened on May 28, 2013. AirDrop wasn't even available on mobile until the release of iOS 7 in September of that year. Likewise, I'm close to positive that my photos weren't linked to an iCloud during that time. So I've noticed something odd lately. Often when I'm driving, I'll notice a pedestrian crossing the street and for whatever reason, something about their movement or clothing catches my attention. Like they have a weird limp or are wearing a hat or coat that stands out as unique. Then, having driven too great of a distance to make seeing the same person twice possible, such as an hour drive at 80 kilometers an hour, I see them again, doing the same thing, wearing the same thing. Since I noticed, I feel like my brain is always on the lookout for something to happen again, to verify what I first saw is legitimate. I now see it at least twice a week. Does anyone else see the same people in different locations? And is it increasing in frequency? I had a dentist appointment in town for 12:30 p.m., so as usual, I set a phone reminder so I have time to get ready, drive the 20 minutes, and still have a spare 10 minutes, in case of road work or whatever. Normal, boring, usual, routine stuff. So at 11:55, my phone reminder goes off. I finish what I'm doing, I grab my stuff, and I check the time on the way out of the door. 12 p.m. exact. The car clock also says 12. All good. I drive to my destination, which is a 20-minute drive, casually keeping an eye on the time. No rush and no stress. It's 12:18 p.m. when I turn on the street where my dentist is. But when I pull into the parking spot at the dentist, the clock on the radio now says 11:59 a.m. Obviously, electronics or something must be wrong, so I check my phone. 11:59 a.m. ticks over to 12 p.m. I walk inside and the clock there says 12 p.m. The receptionist says, "You're half an hour early. Couldn't wait, hey?" So I sit in the dentist waiting area for 30 minutes, wondering what the hell happened. Does anyone have any idea? I don't really know what happened here, and it still always confuses me. My mom and I were getting ready to go to bed, and this time we were going to sleep on the floor. We got the blankets on the floor, she checked that her alarm was on for work, and then she climbed into the covers to sleep, but I stayed up awake standing by the bedpost. We told each other goodnight, and this is where the confusion happens. I blinked. All I did was blink, and my mom told me she had to get ready for work. I was of course confused and told her we barely just got to bed, but she just told me that she was sorry and had to leave. I can now hear my dad entering the house too to get ready to take me to school. All I did was stand there and watch as my mom went to the bathroom to get ready for work and closed the door behind her so I could continue sleeping. My partner and I were heading to the movies one day. I live in Orlando and usually movie theaters are close by, but we love going to one specific one due to the area for the shopping and food. We know where to turn because of a huge Golden Corral and a Wendy's next to it. Boom, from there is the plaza area. But today was different. We were just talking, and usually my partner is very attentive to the roads, but we just kept driving. We didn't see the Wendy's or the Golden Corral at all. We were a bit confused as the big city buildings and roads around us turned into a two-way highway with a bunch of woods, shrubs, and only a few cars coming and going in a weird haze. Him and I get a little bit freaked out because we don't know where we are. Everything happened so fast to the point where we felt as if we were in the countryside of Florida. I tried to shrug it off as maybe we missed our turn. I turned on the GPS and it started to say the movie theater that was only 15 minutes from our house was now 35 minutes from the location that we are now at. Him and I were, to say the least, perplexed. We knew something wasn't right, so he turned off and did a U-turn. No cars at all now. We rode in silence until we finally saw city streets and a bunch of Orlando traffic. We see the Wendy's in the Golden Corral and turn off. We parked and just sat there for a bit. We looked at each other and my partner told me, "I don't know where we just went." I agreed and noticed that we missed our movie time and that we've been gone for 35 to 40 minutes when it only felt so short for us. I could easily say it was just us missing our turn, but something didn't sit right in our heads. Even when we talk about it, it feels weird. This just happened the other day. I was feeling sick, so I grabbed a book from the shelf and took a hot bath. This book is a part of a series of essays on music theory and practice. About 10 years ago, I had a different copy of this same book. I traveled with it and read it cover to cover, completely destroying it to the point that it eventually needed to be discarded. It had been soaked and dried several times, pages falling out. I even scribbled notes in the margins. This book changed my life, and I remember wishing I had taken better care of this particular copy. I had sort of forgotten all of this when I grabbed this copy off the shelf and headed to the bath. I had picked up the copy I currently have, the one I was reading in the bath, at a bookstore about 2 years ago. I remember finding it on a shelf in the way back, feeling excited. It was practically brand new. I flipped through it, but I couldn't remember if it was the same volume as I had before. I bought it anyway because it's a great series. Jump back to me in the bath. I'm flipping through the essays, things are seeming more and more familiar, really grabbing me and stirring my memory. I realize, hey, this is that volume. Hell yeah. I'm so glad I have this material again. And I remember the tattered old copy that I used to have. As I'm having this memory, I turn a page and out of the book falls a train ticket from 6 years ago. The ticket is from my hometown to a large city in my area. I got chills because I've only had this particular copy of this book for 2 years. The ticket is weathered, apparently older than the book it was in. It must just be from someone else who made the same trip, I thought. I turned over the ticket, and my name was on it. I don't know how this is possible, but that pristine copy from the bookstore had a train ticket with my name on it from 6 years ago, when I had the original copy that was destroyed. I remember that train trip, going to see the Dalai Lama. I definitely had that book with me on that trip. Several other minor things that happened around that time have me wondering if I didn't just step over to the reality next door while I had a fever. Several years ago, an album came out by a band called Audioslave, which I absolutely loved. I would have the CD on in my car at full volume while driving around town doing errands. One day, I was sitting in traffic with no music on, and I could faintly hear someone's loud music in the background. It caught my attention as I recognized it as Audioslave. As it was getting louder, I realized it was coming towards me, and then it drove past, and I recognized it as my car, my music, and me driving. It was a very surreal experience and a truly chilling moment. I questioned what I was seeing at the time, and I still wonder to this day. The first thing we started noticing were small things like duplicates. We would see someone somewhere, only for them to be inexplicably somewhere else. For example, my mother and I saw and chatted with an old friend at a grocery store, and when we arrived home later, we saw on Facebook that this person was out of the country and had been for a few days. They have no memory of speaking to us either. Another time, my mother and brother were leaving a doctor's office when they saw a crazy old woman in smelly tattered clothes enter the office and start speaking with the receptionist. While she was talking, my mother and brother got to the elevator and went down to the lobby from the 3rd floor. Upon exiting the elevator, they saw that same woman was in the lobby waiting for the elevator to go up. Sometimes it would be an event aired live on Facebook that we had already seen days prior, or a child celebrating their birthday twice with the same exact party and photos. I've taken phone calls that were duplicates of calls I had already taken with the other person, but they swore that we hadn't spoken yet. The scariest thing, though, has been the deaths. There have been 4 deaths in our community of very well-known and influential people, and every one of them has died twice. We hear about their deaths and see all of the RIP posts on Facebook. We see the community fundraisers put on to raise money for their funerals, and even see the cars at the church or funeral home, only for these people to die a week or 2 later, and all of the RIP posts and fundraisers happen again. Only our family seems to notice these things happening. My mother and siblings and my 2 kids. We don't know what's happening, and it's starting to scare us. Does anybody have any idea what's going on, or how we should deal with it? We're scared. I haven't told anyone about this, and I don't know if this really happened or if it was just my imagination. So I run frequently, about 3 or 4 days a week, at random times. This Monday, according to my plan, I had a tempo run for 4 kilometers. About the first kilometer, I felt it was going to be a good run. So I decided I was going to run 5 kilometers and try for a personal record. I live in a new condo close to a graveyard, and it is in the route of most of my runnings. I was almost finishing my run, happy with the possible outcome of a personal record. I realized I was going to be short on distance, so I would need to go to the entrance of my condo, go back, and then go to the entrance again. This means I needed to pass the cemetery entrance 3 times. While I was thinking this, I got closer to the cemetery and I see another runner coming to me. However, he was wearing the same clothing, orange shirt, black shorts and shoes, and a green phone case on the right arm. As he moved closer to me, I saw his face, and it was my face. With the heavy breathing for the running, the sweat on his face and shirt, and the short hair all messed up from the wind, it was me, without a doubt. I wasn't scared, but I was sort of freaked out. He passed right next to me, and when I looked back, he wasn't there. There was another man walking close by, but that was it. I did pass the cemetery 3 times and finished my 5 kilometers. I went home and I haven't stopped thinking about it. I don't know if I saw the future, but if it was only by 1 minute. Another story out of Arizona. About 2 years ago, my girlfriend and I were driving across town from my old friend's house in the area I grew up. I knew of a super cheap gas station I wanted to stop at right before we got to the highway. Now, I've grown up in the area, and I used to stop exclusively at this gas station because it was once on my way home from work. I've been there 1,000 times. This is the only gas station in that part of town. It's across from an airport and is also right off the highway exit. And due to the massive amounts of landmarks near it, it's impossible to get the location wrong. So we're driving along, and when I get to where the gas station is supposed to be, it's not there. It's not that there was just a dirt lot. It was desert. It was completely undeveloped. It looked like it did before the gas station was ever even built. I was incredibly confused, and I pulled out my phone and Googled where the gas station was, and it pinged right in front of me. I showed my girlfriend, and we even take it to a street view. But it was 100% undoubtedly exactly where we were. It just wasn't there. I thought maybe I was wrong, or, losing my mind. I hadn't been there for a while. So I decided I would drive farther up the highway 1 more exit. Maybe I missed it. I first drive to the other side of the ramp to make sure I'm not crazy. Nothing there but a bunch of neighborhoods. We drive to the next exit, which is 3 miles down. Nope. Nothing there. Now I'm almost out of gas, and the next closest gas station is back the way I came. So I start driving back, and as I'm coming up on the previous exit that I thought the gas station was at originally, it's there. Not only that, but now there is a massive warehouse behind it. I look at my girlfriend and we're positive we're losing our minds at this point. We just saw the lot was empty with our own eyes. Not only that, but previously we didn't pass anyone on the road the whole time we were driving around looking for this gas station. But the gas station was packed, and I mean packed. There was probably 18 to 20 cars, as the gas station itself has about 15 pumps. To be honest, the most logical explanation I can think of is somehow we saw the lot in the past. I lived in this town my whole life, and even at that time I had told my girlfriend that had the gas station been torn down, there should have been the parking lot left or something. But what we saw was an empty desert lot, like how it looked, before they even built it. A few weeks ago, I realized I needed a few small things, so I'd have to go to the store. I ordered an Uber and realized my phone was about to die. My apartment is upstairs but has indoor stairs that lead down to the front door and garage, so I was at the bottom of the stairs charging my phone while waiting for the Uber. As he arrived, I specifically remembered having the charger in my hand and putting it in my purse when I got in the car. We went to the store. He waited for me while I was shopping since it was a short trip. Shortly after getting back in the car, I noticed my charger is gone. I checked my purse, the bags, everywhere I could, but I couldn't find it. My purse was super empty too. All it had was my wallet and my EpiPen inside, so it's not like it got lost in a bunch of stuff. I asked my Uber if he remembered me walking in the car with it, and he did, so I figured that I just lost it in the store. I get home and my phone battery is really low, so I start looking for my husband's charger or a backup one, when I notice my missing charger is plugged into the extension cord upstairs by the couch, where it usually is. It's a 6-foot charger, so it's not super uncommon, but it's the only one like this that I've ever had. After thinking about it, I realized I had a doorbell camera, motion sensor type, so it's not recording 24/7. I pull up the camera log and I see myself walking out of the door with the charger in my hand and getting in the car, as I remembered. Unfortunately, when I tried to find the video of me arriving back at home, it wasn't there. There wasn't another video until about 35 minutes after I got home, and that was just some car driving by. The camera always catches me walking in and out of my apartment, so it was particularly weird that this one was missing.